Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Chris Abdey. He's a procrastination coach, 20 years experience across various industries, and a passion for helping others. He empowers individuals to break free from the cycle of procrastination and achieve peak productivity. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Chris. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We will be talking about conquering procrastination and achieving a lot of productivity. So, but before that, Chris, let me understand a bit about more about you for the audience, about bit about your background and journey, so that they know who they are listening to and also learn from your journey itself.
Yes, thank you. I've always wanted to help others. When I was younger, I thought about law enforcement, firefighter, paramedic, um, but obviously none of those ever panned out. So what it was though is I do realize that from a young age I was a master procrastinator, right? I was always leaving my school projects to the last minute, and really the reason that we get away with that is because there are no consequences, right? So I didn't really start to have any consequences in this until a little later on in life, where I was constantly feeling a little burned out, always leaving things to the last minute, right? So I started out in customer service, and I worked in call centers, and then I got up into management, upper management, creating systems for people. Got into project management, and then business development. But all along the way, I was always, chasing the almighty dollar, and I was always, working 80-hour weeks, and I was ignoring I was ignoring the I was ignoring the real reason that I was, actually working for this, right? But, a few years ago, said I needed a change, and so I came back to Canada and started working on a project. And I realized that I didn't know my daughter, had an estranged family, so to speak, and I was really looking for a way to take back my time. And so somebody mentioned to me, "Well, you've been doing this for your entire life, so why don't you just go get your certification and just coach people in procrastination and burnout and productivity?" And so that's how I got to be where I am today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for your story. And here you are from a so called master procrastinator that you call yourself. You are a procrastination coach. That's indeed a long journey and a good one. But one thing I want to understand from you, Chris, is uh, why is procrastination a problem, especially in today's time when there is so much of anxiety, overwhelm, sticking to deadlines, surpassing deadlines? Doesn't procrastination, especially a bit of it, come as a safety shield in today's time for those people who may be, we can who may get into burnout and all this anxiety and overwhelm? How should we look at this aspect of our being?
Okay, so the first thing you have to understand is that if you suffer from procrastination, I mean, you're not really lazy. It's not that you're broken or that um, there's anything wrong. Actually, procrastination is one of the first sort of defense mechanisms that you have. So when you start to feel burnout, when you start to feel like you can't really get motivated to do anything, it's not that you are lazy. It's not that you're broken in any way. It's just your body or your mind telling you that you need to slow down, or maybe you are not doing things in the way that you should be doing, or it could be that you are just you have those feelings of anxiety because you're not really sure how to move forward. So the way to understand this is to really go through the five main types of procrastinators. So you got the perfectionist, right? So the perfectionist needs to wait until everything is ready. has to be the absolute right time, has to be every single aspect has to be perfect before they can release. And that's because of a fear of judgment, fear of failure, even a fear of success. And then the second one is you have the worriers. I think that we can all recognize ourselves in this one at some point. Those are the what if scenarios. So you get up in the morning and say, "All right, it's the weekend. I'm going to go mow the lawn, cut the grass." And then you say, "Oh wait, what if I go outside and my lawnmower doesn't work? Oh, it'll work. It'll work. Well, what if I go to the garage and there's no gas for my lawnmower? Oh, okay, nope, can't do that. Or what if my neighbor doesn't like the noise? I don't want to make him mad, right? So those are the worriers. The third one is the dreamers. So the dreamers, I like the dreamers, and I really love working with the dreamers because they've got these plans and the big ideas, the innovators, and they really get stuck on the execution of these plans, right? Either because they're overwhelmed, they don't know where to start, or um, they just don't know how to move forward with their dreams, or they get bored because it's a lot more fun thinking about it than it is actually planning and doing, right? And then we have the crisis makers. Again, a lot of us can identify with the crisis makers. These are the ones where you tend to work well under pressure. You leave everything to the last minute because you feel you get that boost of creativity, or you get an adrenaline or a dopamine rush, or anything like that. It's basically creating a sense of urgency. So that's one of the more common types of procrastinators, especially in high performance jobs or high, uh, you know, um, yeah, high performance jobs or high, high skilled jobs, what they could say. And then the last one is the fire. And I think that this is one of the easiest forms of procrastination to get over if you're under the fire category, simply because we don't like being told what to do. So if you're mainly a defier, it's because you feel like you don't have the control in your life and you don't have any autonomy. And the easiest way to get out of that is just by shifting your mindset. Change from a have to mentality to a get to or a choose to. And so, really, the key to overcoming procrastination is understanding which of the five types that you're falling into. And many of us fall into more than one type at any one time. But if you can understand which of the categories you fall into and the why you're procrastinating, then you'll really be able to overcome it.
Right, right. How about people being laid back? Should they be called procrastinators? And what is procrastination actually? Is it a that better understanding is required of oneself, or is it the mindset, or some people can are just made like this? People want to take things easy, but they are positive, they have more confidence, they know they will achieve their work by sticking to the way they feel comfortable, because a lot of people can just create unnecessary panic, whereas cool headed people, they are all the procrastinations could also be the cool headed people that we generally talk about. Help us
Mhm.
understand this.
Yeah, so the laid back person isn't a procrastinator because, and I actually had this discussion a little while ago. If you're planning your procrastination, it's not it's not really procrastinating. Um, there are lots of people that if they know how long it takes them to do something and they schedule it out and they schedule it out on purpose that way, then it's not really procrastination. Procrastination is defined by something that is getting in the way. It's some sort of blockage, whether it's an emotional blockage, psychological blockage. It's some sort of blockage that is preventing you from doing something. So the person that's laid back is going to say, okay, yeah, I'll pay this bill. I'll pay the internet bill, the day before or the day of, right? That's not necessarily procrastinating. That's just setting your priorities and understanding that, oh yeah, well I'll get this done because, I have to pay my internet bill, right? Whereas somebody who may be procrastinating on paying their bill, they might leave it to the last minute because they have some reason to. So maybe they don't like looking at their bank account when when they're paying bills. or maybe paying bills stresses them out because it reminds them of something else. It reminds them of their job, or maybe they're overworked. So no, when somebody's laid back, they're not procrastinating. They're just planning, and they just don't take anything too heavy. And I mean, that's actually one of the ways that you probably want to be in this life, is you want to understand that things are important, but also understand that nothing is as important as uh, your own mental health and physical health, because the two are connected.
Right. So how do I know that I'm a laid back person, easy person, but confident person, responsible person, and not a procrastinator? What's the best way? Because you talked about several ways one could be procrastinating, but how do I exactly pinpoint or to know? Because it's not illness. I cannot go anywhere. I have to do my self assessment, or maybe someone like you can do it. What is it that can help me understand myself in this regard?
Well, the way to understand is that if you're not having any discomfort, you're likely not a procrastinator. Because again, if you're laid back and you are confident and you're getting everything done, you're not going to have any consequences. So I think that that's probably the main differentiator, is that if your actions are causing pain, or they're causing discomfort of of some sort, then you know that you're falling into the area of procrastination. Just as an example, if you have any discomfort around an idea or a task, then you're likely procrastinating on some level. But if you get a task and you are confident, you're happy, you're not really thinking about it, but you're getting it done on time, that's not procrastination. So the main differentiation would be just how you feel about it. And I know that can be difficult in today's age, because we're taught to ignore our feelings, and push through, and uh, all that fun stuff. So yeah, the real way to know if you're procrastinating is just to think about the task and see how you feel about it, and if you have any resistance. If there's no resistance, there's really no procrastination.
Right, right. What about the division about in terms of the gender? Generally men are considered to be procrastination. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I am wrong. Or is it that that men are more prone towards uh, procrastination, and women generally are they tend to be much more towards the towards keeping the deadlines, and that's why they say generally that you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this on time, otherwise there will be the work will not get done. How should we understand these dynamics?
So that's a very good question. Traditionally speaking, the reason that more more men have been seen to be procrastinators than women, there's a few different reasons, and it depends on which camp that you fall into. So the first reason is that, um, and these are broad generalizations. I mean, obviously everyone's different, but the big things to understand are, in general, the way that men's minds and women's minds are sort of set up to work. And again, this is a very broad generalization. And so, where men are seen to be, more logical and in order and things like that, and women are seen to be more relational, in terms of relations and how things are related. So one of the reasons that men have been seen to be more procrastinators than women is simply because men have been historically more visible than women. Holding positions of power, holding positions which are visible in companies. Going back several hundred years, right? So it's not necessarily that men procrastinate more than women. It's just that, because of the ways of thinking, and the way that the mind is generally structured, it tends to lead to more of a chronological order of things, rather than a relation side of things. And whereas women have traditionally been more the caregivers, then they generally don't procrastinate. And the interesting thing is that, um, yes, it's while the procrastination on the men's side has been more visible, The procrastination on the woman's side has typically, historically been more um, actually self-destructive, because in terms of procrastination, a woman, again, historically, generalization, has been the caregiver, has been the child bearer, has been the housekeeper, and they put off everything um, for themselves to do those things for their family. So that's kind of a hidden form of procrastination, because they're really they're putting everyone else's needs above their own. So they're putting off taking care of themselves. And that's what leads to, discord in the home. That's what leads to, uh, you know, uh, feeling unfulfilled. But it's not that they're procrastinating in their tasks at home, or raising their children or anything like that. It's they're procrastinating in terms of taking care of themselves.
Right, right. Do you get women clients? What is it? If yes, then what is it that they generally need help in terms of procrastination?
Oh yeah, so the women that I tend to work with either fall into the category of dreamer, where they're single moms, or they're stay at home moms, and they want to create a business, and they can't seem to find the time to do that, and they're always putting it off because they're always busy. Again, taking the kids to soccer practice, or cleaning the house, or different things, and they feel like they don't have any time for making their business, or they just don't feel like they have any time for themselves. So they're always on the go, or and they don't have time to do their nails, or go out and get a haircut, or just take some time for themselves. So those are typically, when I work with women, that's those are the main two areas.
Right, right, Chris. Now let's look at the relationship between procrastination and productivity.
Mhm.
What is the relationship here? People who can procrastinate or plan it can still get their work done. Why is productivity? Are we looking at from only a selective sort of a lens, so that people want to get the most out of people with whatever they are giving? How should we look at? They don't. They want them to all be always engaged. It's like being on the treadmill all the time while being in office or in their factories or anywhere else. Are we still living in that factory age?
Well, we are a little bit. Productivity does fall into procrastination quite a bit in the workplace, but it's a little bit different, because procrastination in the workplace can often be caused by processes that are outdated, or that the work is not being divided in a certain way. And actually, I'm glad you brought this up. In a lot of companies, we actually cause procrastination. And we do this by trying to push more productivity in the workplace. We always say we have to multitask. We say we have to wear more than one hat. We say we have to,
Right.
do this report, but then we also have to do this meeting. Oh, but wait, we have to get this done for this client by tomorrow. And it's funny, because we want to get more and more out of people, but when you start pushing to get more and more out of people, you're just pushing them into burnout, and you're pushing them to procrastinate. Because if you've got all these different tasks, and you're focused on more than one job at a time, you can only give what you give out. And it's impossible. Multitasking is a myth. It doesn't exist. Whatever you're only doing one thing at a time. Even if you're working on two things at once, your focus is only ever on one thing at once anyway. But where the problem becomes is, if I'm here having this podcast with you, I'm on my cell phone, I'm listening in the background, I'm thinking about my next meeting, then maybe I'm only 50% focused on the podcast. If I'm only 50% focused on the podcast, I'm only going to get 50% out of it. If I'm 100% focused on the podcast, I'll get 100%. And this is something that a lot of companies that they're starting to understand. We've moved to the 4-day work week in many places. They've understood that when you go to change a task, especially if you're going between the left brain and the right brain, so something creative versus something analytical, it can take you anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours to switch up. So if I'm reading a report at work, and you drag me out to a work meeting where I have to come up with something, that means that after that work meeting, even if it was only 5 minutes, it's going to take me maybe up to an hour or more to get back into the work I was actually doing. So by interrupting that work and dragging me to another task, you've now lengthened that task by anywhere from, say if you could have gotten it done in an hour, you would have lengthened that process by doubled that, right? So simply by letting workers focus on one important aspect or focus on the task that they're supposed to be doing and not telling them to switch between, you'll notice that the efficiency goes up. People are happier because they don't have to juggle all these things, and you get way more output.
Right, Chris, right. There is much to understand about these things, and for these, you have got two programs: Procrastination to Productivity and the Balance Blueprint. Tell us a bit about that so that people can learn about these and can take help through these programs.
Got you. So the procrastination to productivity is really more about understanding why you procrastinate. So it's about taking specific tasks. Maybe that you can't, do the laundry or something, right? You absolutely hate doing it. You leave it off on it. So the first thing that we do in that is we really do a deep dive because in order to overcome procrastination, you really have to understand the why. So we look at everything. We look at your focus. We look at, are you focused on the laundry when you're doing it, or are you somewhere else? We look at your energy levels. How are you feeling when you're doing the laundry? When are you doing the laundry? Are you doing it at a time when you're energetically available, when you're emotionally available? Which again, we're taught to ignore those from a very young age and taught to ignore those at work. Oh, you're tired. Oh, keep going. You know, but if you can time your tasks to those times when you're at the optimum energy levels, then you'll be able to see that you get them done a lot more quickly. So that's where we look at, everything for 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And every day we're journaling or we're recording, how you're feeling when you wake up. We're looking at your diet. We're looking at your activities. Do these activities drain you? Do these activities energize you? Because you want to not only slide the tasks into where they fit, right? But you really want to understand where the best place to do those tasks is. So that's more where we take a look at maybe one specific thing. Again, maybe you need to paint a fence that you told your wife you're going to paint it for the last 5 years, and you took out the paintbrush and you maybe did one little board, right? So figure out why you're procrastinating that. Now, balance blueprint, uh, you know, to life harmony. That is more about having balance between everything that you want to do, everything that you need to do, and everything that quote unquote have to do. So we look at your life, we look at your work life, we look at your home life, and then we look at your personal life because there are three things. We tend to only focus on home life and then we focus on our work life, but we don't really focus too much on our personal lives. And I know that we don't want to seem selfish. We don't want to seem like we're all about ourselves. But you do have to have that balance between not only your home life but your personal life as well. So you need friends, you need hobbies, you need time for you too. Because again, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So if you're always burned out, how are you able to give anyone else any worthwhile energy or time?
Right, right. As I said, there's so much to learn from you, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn more about this from you, learn more about you, about your programs. So, what's the best way for them to do so?
Okay. So, I mean, if you feel that you're procrastinating, the best thing to do or the easiest thing to do is to go to my website, www.procrastinationstation.ca. There's a free quiz. It's 8 questions. And once you answer those 8 questions, you'll know sort of what category you're falling into at least. And then I also do have right after that, there's a calendar link. You can schedule some time. It's about 45 minutes to an hour, free of charge. We go into, your test results. You explain to me a little bit what you're doing, and then we come up with a plan. So even if you don't wind up working with me, you'll have more understanding, and you'll be able to, have some actionable steps and strategies in order to, to sort of overcome that. The other best way to contact me is through my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is just my name, Chris Abdey. I'm the only one with that name on LinkedIn, so that's the easiest way to reach out to me as well.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed. for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.